Pope Francis in Iraq. The Holy Father arrives with a message of peace and fraternity among Christians and Muslims. We're on the ground in Baghdad. Our Lady of Salvation. Go inside the Iraqi church recovering from a terror attack. Archbishop Warda, the Chaldean Archbishop of Erbil, shares his view of the Holy Father's visit. And EWTN News In Depth, a preview of a weekly news show premiering tonight on EWTN. On EWTN News Nightly for Friday, March 5th, 2021. Pope Francis becomes the first pope ever to visit Iraq for a weekend trip filled with a message of hope and peace. And thank you so much for being with us tonight. I'm Tracy Sable. Pope Francis landed in Baghdad earlier today for this historic trip. The Pope was greeted by Iraq's Prime Minister and local Catholic officials. Traditional dancers and musicians welcomed the Holy Father before he was escorted to the presidential palace. EWTN Newsroom correspondent Colin Flynn is traveling with the Holy Father and brings us this report from Baghdad.
Good evening from Baghdad, Iraq. Well, this morning, myself, along with 73 journalists from 15 different countries, boarded the plane with Pope Francis in Rome and flew to Baghdad. Upon arrival, the Pope was taken from the airport by a heavily armed escort and travelled to the presidential palace. Now, in places, Iraqi citizens lined the streets waving both Iraqi and Vatican City flags, but for most of the journey to the palace, the streets were lined with army and security personnel. At the presidential palace, President Barham Salih greeted the Holy Father, and together they stood side by side while a band played the national anthems of both Vatican City and Iraq. The Pope then met inside with 150 Iraqi government officials, where he said that this pandemic crisis calls us all to rethink how we live and shape a future that's based on what unites us rather than on what divides us. He said that the religious, cultural and ethnic diversity in the Iraqi society is a precious resource, and the Pope appealed to the authorities to grant all religious communities recognition, respect, rights and protection. After, the Holy Father met privately with the President and his wife, where he gave a medallion of the figure of Abraham as a gift of gratitude. To end the day, Pope Francis travelled to the Syro-Catholic Cathedral of Our Lady of Salvation. There was a lovely moment outside where he stopped to greet a group with special needs and disabilities, and one of them told me afterwards that it was always a dream of them to meet Pope Francis. Well, inside the cathedral, he met with priests and religious and told them to never lose their apostolic zeal despite challenges of the pandemic and experiences of war and persecution. 60% of the Iraqi population is under 25 years of age, and Pope Francis urged the community to help cultivate the future for the young people, saying that they are the country's treasure. After praying an Our Father all together, he left to get some rest for tomorrow and another busy schedule. In Baghdad, travelling with the Pope, Colin Flynn, EWTN News Nightly.
And as Colin just mentioned, the Holy Father visited the Syro-Catholic Our Lady of Salvation Cathedral in Baghdad that witnessed the worst massacre of Iraqi Christians. 58 people were killed in October 2010 in that attack, and tonight we hear from some of those survivors. The image of Pope Francis graces the blast walls protecting Baghdad's Our Lady of Salvation Church. The messages of brotherhood of facade, perhaps, to the bitter memory of the worst ever massacre of Christians in Baghdad. Terrorists from the Islamic State in Iraq, the precursor to ISIS, burst into the church during evening mass. Deacon Louis Clemis was inside and recalls the attackers made their purpose clear. He says their intention was evil. It was to kill. They considered everyone in the church an infidel deserving of death.
Of an experience it must have been.
Journalists reported from the church in the immediate aftermath.
When the attackers stormed in, half of the congregation came back here into this room trying to keep themselves safe. They had barricaded the door, but the attackers were throwing grenades in.
Deacon Clemis shows us exactly where he was, cowering on the floor with his son and dozens of others, taking cover during the attack. Shrapnel ripped into his head. He says, "We stayed here for 4 hours in terror and fear. We had surrendered to fate and put our lives in the hands of the Virgin Mary." Grainy amateur video shows the panic and trauma moments after Iraqi anti-terrorism troops stormed the church. Natik Anwar, an attack survivor, says since the attack, almost everyone has left. Before Mass was held here 3 times in the morning and twice in the evening. Now there is just 1 Mass a day. The specter of terror has receded for now, yet corruption, political paralysis, chaos, and perceived discrimination have left the Christian community desperate for help. Deacon Clemis says we need someone to stand with us because we live in a jungle controlled by political monsters, a jungle in need of saints. Oh, and Vita Hanna was told by Archbishop Bashar Warda that Pope Francis was coming to Iraq. She thought to herself it was just another rumor. Well, now she is coordinating the Mass that Pope Francis will celebrate on Sunday at Erbil's Franco Harrir Stadium.
We are very much overjoyed by the visit and him coming to our city. We've been waiting for this for centuries now, and it means a lot for us as minorities here, not only Christians, but also everybody here in the region, because he's bringing a sign of hope, peace, and love.
Hannah says that she is especially happy the Mass will involve so many young people. Well, that Mass is just one opportunity for what Archbishop Warda says he hopes will be a lasting image of the Holy Father's trip to Iraq, a chance for the world to see a joyful side of the country. And that church leader joins us now from Iraq, Archbishop Bashar Warda, the Chaldean Archbishop of Erbil. Your Excellency, thank you so much for joining us. We truly appreciate your time. So tell us, how is the visit from the Holy Father going so far? How has he been received?
Well, he was received with songs and Iraqi traditional dance, which I enjoyed very much, really. It was really for us a big surprise to hear all traditional songs that usually being sung to welcome guests or at the weddings. Yeah, it was really joyful moments.
That's so wonderful to hear. Which events are you most looking forward to during the visit from Pope Francis?
Of course, the Mass, the Eucharist, what we call the best wine, which would come at the end of the visit. Everyone is really, especially here at the diocese. This morning we had around 300 young people, volunteers, were at the stadium preparing, and yeah, everyone is really excited for that. Besides, I must say, every steps in this journey is quite important, has a meaning. Today he met the civil authorities, and his message was quite clear, which showed that he's so close with the Iraqi people, knowing all the challenges, and asking the government to really face these challenges courageously, fight the corruption, looking for reconciliation, dialogue, and appreciating the diversity, which is a richness really to all Iraqis. And then at the Church of the Lady of Deliverance, he addressed the priests and the bishops and all the consecrated life communities, thanking them for their perseverance, for their solidarity with the people, and encouraging the Church to continue that. Yeah, it was great.
That sounds so wonderful. I want to switch gears just a little bit. Can you update us on the situation for Christians in your country right now?
As you know, I mean, the number of the Christians have declined. Unfortunately, two-thirds of the Christian community left, and most of you would know exactly the reasons behind all of this: the persecution, the hardship, kidnapping, killing, bombing. I mean, all of these, violent acts really made Christians unstable and really not to trust the country. So they left. Right now, thank God, 8,000 families went back to Nineveh Plain, 70 families to Mosul, still a lot here, 2,500. There are other challenges, that there is no livelihood programs there, jobs is needed. The church, with the help of Catholic NGOs, have really put a lot of efforts in rebuilding most of these destroyed villages, but still a lot needs to be done. And that's why I hope, and we are all full of hope, that His Holiness will bring the attention again of the world about, not about our situation, but at least encourage the generosity of others to come and contribute, because everyone today, all Iraqis, all of them have said it quite clear: Christianity is important for Iraq. Christianity is really important of Iraq. You are really the historical people of Iraq. You are needed because you've contributed a lot. And I believe that we still have the chance to be always bridges of hope and reconciliation, and also contributing in rebuilding Iraq again.
Well, Your Excellency, thank you so much for your time today. We really appreciate it. It was an honor to speak with you. Archbishop Bashar Warda, the Chaldean Archbishop of Erbil in Iraq. Thank you again.
Thank you. Thank you.
Our Catholic U.S. Congressman Jeff Fortenberry is keeping a close eye on the Holy Father's visit to Iraq. For years, the Nebraska Representative has been an advocate in Congress for persecuted religious groups in the Middle East. He sat down with Capitol Hill correspondent Eric Rosales.
Congressman Fortenberry tells me he had the opportunity to study in the Middle East early in life. And as a practicing Catholic, he witnessed firsthand people not being able to practice their faith. Today, it is much worse for some. He hopes the Holy Father's visit will bring hope and change to the area.
Well, it's for the sake of civilization. It's for the sake of human dignity. It's for the sake of peace.
Congressman Jeff Fortenberry praised the persecution of religious minorities in Iraq will end soon. Lincoln, Nebraska is in his district, home to one of the nation's largest Yazidi communities who have migrated from the Middle East. Congressman Fortenberry says at one time Iraq had a flourishing pluralism, with various religious groups living with one another, from a Jewish community to Yazidis to Christians.
And of course, I'm a Roman Catholic and watched with horror as the twisted, dark ideology of ISIS targeted Christians and Yazidis and certain Muslim minority communities for extermination, for genocide.
Several years ago, at the vice president's request, he traveled to northern Iraq to examine the post-ISIS era and make sure America's tax dollars were helping the people in need. As a result, the Trump administration directed more aid directly to religious organizations on the ground and less through the United Nations. Now, in the midst of a COVID-19 pandemic, with rockets being fired at U.S. troop presence, he says the Holy Father's visit is miraculous for the people of the Middle East.
And if the Holy Father can make some sort of progress toward helping Iraq see itself as a healthy nation that respects this sacred space of human dignity, which finds its expression in reasoned religious freedom, then that creates the stage for not only stabilization, but a modern Iraq that maybe has a decided place of leadership in the world.
He believes the Holy Father's visit will mark a turning point where human dignity and religious liberty win. At the Capitol, Eric Rosales, EWTN News Nightly.
Coming up, economic recovery. Here, the White House responds to the latest job numbers, and coronavirus relief. Senators consider President Joe Biden's American Rescue Plan, where the bill stands tonight. White House admits the United States has a long way to go in order to gain back all of the millions of jobs lost to COVID-19. A report released today shows U.S. employers added 379,000 jobs last month. But at that rate, the recovery could take years. White House correspondent Owen Jensen reports. Owen?
Tracy, tonight the White House is not exactly celebrating those positive job growth numbers. And Republicans say the numbers prove the American Rescue Plan is too expensive.
President Joe Biden discussing the nation's employment situation.
We can't afford one step forward and two steps backwards. We need to beat the virus, provide essential relief, and build an inclusive recovery.
Earlier in the briefing room, Press Secretary Jen Psaki laid out these numbers.
And it's unacceptable when 4 million Americans have been unemployed for more than 6 months, or when unemployment is at 9.9% for African Americans and 8.5% for Hispanics.
News of more people hearing "you're hired" arrives at the same time the president is pushing his $1.9 trillion American Rescue Plan. Republicans have ripped it for being far too costly, unfocused, and essentially a liberal wish list.
This isn't a pandemic rescue package. It's a parade of left-wing pet projects that are ramming through.
But Ronald Klain, the White House chief of staff, tweeted this morning, "If you think today's jobs report is good enough, then know that at this pace, it would take until April 2023 to get back to where we were in February 2020. In places like Connecticut,
all of our schools now are open, most of them for full-time, 5-day-a-week activity. Our restaurants and retail have been open at 50%.
Wall Street happy to hear more people are working, but nervous and rattled over interest rates and inflation. The economy is still about 9.6 million jobs shy of where it was before the virus arrived.
Also in his remarks today, President Joe Biden said millions of Americans simply don't have enough food to eat, need more help with unemployment assistance, and can't afford the rent. At the White House, Owen Jensen, EWTN News Nightly.
And as Owen mentioned, the president is awaiting the latest COVID-19 relief on Capitol Hill. Senators are debating the bill after a long night.
The Employee Retirement Income Security Act of 1974 is amended by inserting after Section 4261 of such act, 29 U.S.C. 1431, the following.
Senate clerks read aloud the 628 pages of the bill. It took almost 11 hours. It's expected to be another long night for senators, with amendment votes stretching into early Saturday morning. Both the Wall Street Journal and the New York Times are reporting that top aides to New York Governor Andrew Cuomo altered a state health department report to obscure the true number of people killed by COVID-19 in the state's nursing homes. The governor has said his office made a mistake and acknowledged not providing data quick enough. It comes as Governor Cuomo is under fire amid allegations of sexual harassment from 2 former aides and an unwanted advance from a 3rd woman. He vows to remain in office. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention says it needs more time before it releases guidelines for people who have been fully vaccinated against coronavirus.
These are complex issues, and the science is rapidly evolving. CDC is working to assure that the communication we release on this guidance are clear and that the American public can act on them.
Dr. Rochelle Walensky says the CDC is taking the time to get this right and will release the guidance soon. People who have been immunized against COVID-19 are eager to learn if they can resume more normal activities. Up next, EWTN News In Depth, what you can expect from the network's newest show. A new show makes its debut tonight on EWTN.
We're going to ask the tough questions and get the right answers and make sure that when you watch this show, you feel engaged and you feel empowered.
EWTN News In Depth is a 1-hour roundtable discussion show hosted by Montse Alvarado. It will provide analysis of topics important to the faithful from a Catholic perspective. And host of that show, Montse Alvarado, joins me now. Thank you so much for being here. We're so excited about your show.
I am thrilled to be here and to be part of the EWTN News family. This is really exciting.
Oh, we're excited too. So Montse, tell us a little bit more about the show, why you feel it's important, and why is it important to launch now?
So I can't take credit for the idea of the show. I pray for the person who helped to create it, Andrew Walther, God rest his soul, who was a part of the EWTN News family and had an untimely death. And we pray for him, of course. This show is about encounter. It's about coming together. It's about finding our Catholic voice together and figuring out how to face the world. The last couple of years, we've seen a lot of division. The last year has been full of pain and struggle. I think that we need something like this to dig deep and get into the issues that scare us and the issues that give us hope.
Yeah, and I know that you're doing that. The first episode airs tonight at 8 p.m. Yes. Tell us what we can expect.
So I actually did something special for you. I brought you an exclusive soundbite from the interview that I did with Cardinal Dolan in his house in New York about the coronavirus, about, not just the pandemic, how it affects schools and the Equality Act, all of these issues that cause a little bit of controversy. And so I brought also his reflection on the Pope's trip to Iraq, which I know you're going to be doing that exclusive coverage on. I don't know if we can show that now to everyone.
Absolutely.
When I listen to my brother bishops and priests and religious women and lay leaders who from that area, they will always say to me, we feel as if we've been forgotten. Please don't forget us. Please keep reminding people of our plight. Please keep advocating for us. Please keep praying with and for us, which that's caught on. I don't know. I'm at a different parish church every weekend. Almost always do I hear prayers for the persecuted Christians, which is a very good thing. So what the Pope is trying to do is say, I haven't forgotten you. Here I am.
I'm excited to see more of this interview. Tell us also what we can expect looking forward from the other episodes.
So I brought you that soundbite because it really speaks to the mission of the show. Here I am, that encounter that Pope Francis asks us all to engage in. And so you'll be able to see upcoming a discussion about the Equality Act. We'll be doing an exclusive interview with Archbishop Gomez, with the new head of the Knights of Columbus, Patrick Kelly, and a bunch of other new voices that you haven't really seen before to get that insight into what we should be thinking about and how we should really be engaging our faith and bringing it into the world with us.
Yeah, we're excited to see it. And it doesn't just air Fridays, right? It also airs other nights in case you miss it.
Yes, it airs on Sunday at 11, and for those of us who are night owls or in Europe, at 1 o'clock on Saturday nights.
And on social too. So
on
if you're on
media,
it, right?
That's right. Yes, Instagram, on YouTube, and on our channel, EWTN News In Depth.
Okay, great. Montse, anything that I forgot that you think is really important for our viewers to know about this new show?
Just to know that this is part of the bigger offerings. There's a great part of our launching show has a little piece that explains everything that EWTN has to share. All of these different pieces. And so it's your show, it's Raymond's show, Catherine's show. We all come together to offer a perspective for Catholics to be engaged.
Yeah, and it's so great. We're so happy that you're here with us, part of the family, and we're praying for you. So thank you so much, and good luck on launching the episode.
Thank you.
Yeah, and you can catch EWTN News In Depth starting tonight and every Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern. Montse Alvarado, thank you again so much. We are excited for you.
Thank you.
And we thank you for watching tonight. For the entire EWTN News Nightly team, I'm Tracy Sable. Good night and God bless.